Hi everyone. Today I'm talking to Tracy McQuarrie, and she has just launched Not Without My Dog SA, a huge campaign. Tracy is the founder of Dogtown SA, you will know that well, and also Barking Mad, which is one of the biggest fundraisers and networking sites in South Africa. Tracy, there are about 56,000 schemes, body corporates, HOH, and all of that registered in South Africa. So what sparked Not Without My Dog?
So, coming from a shelter background, we get a lot of people asking us to rehome their pets because they can't find anywhere where they can live with their pets. It's probably one of the biggest reasons that people surrender their pets. And part of Barking Mad's initiatives is mainly on trying to keep pets out of shelters. You know, back in the day, shelters used to be for the abandoned and abused, and now they are overflowing with people's beloved pets. And no matter how good the shelter is, you know, a dog that's come from lying on the bed and the couch with you to now living in a shelter environment is just totally stressful and quite frankly, quite cruel for a beloved pet. So we've been looking at initiatives all along to see how we can keep people and their pets together. We've done, you know, our behavior support. So if they're working with a dog that, if they have a pet that's had behavior problems, we'll work with them to work through those problems, because most of the time it's just a little bit of guidance of explaining, showing the dog how to live in this crazy human world. And also sometimes it's a financial need, a veterinary need, a food need. And within our means, we help where we can there as well. But the biggest thing is we are trying to keep beloved pets out of shelters. So we do our home adoptions, where we do the whole process of adoptions, but it's not going through a shelter itself. It's just our team managing. And that's helped a little bit, but the amount of pets that are being surrendered just got too much. So we had to say, okay, we need to like tackle this at the source. And one of the sources, among many, is financial restraints and finding somewhere where they can move in with their pet friendly, especially people who are downsizing.
We hear that a lot, you know, especially with large breeds as well, coming in because we're downsizing, gardens too small, etc., etc. So obviously this is a lot about homeowners associations and rules that they have that are kind of one size fits all, and it doesn't take into account, you know, the individual needs of the animal, and just blanket kind of rules. So how does this feed into the amount of dogs that are coming into shelter?
So what we're finding in most of the rescues are it's large breed dogs being surrendered, and then also nobody's adopting the large breed dogs because where they live in they can't. So shelters are becoming full of people's family pets that are large breed dogs, and we're really starting to bottleneck, which is why the urgency of this eventually came about. Bad thing is, a prime example of the area we're in, people are moving from plots into complexes, and they've generally always had a Boerboel and a Jack Russell. That's kind of the standard both family pets in our area. And what's happening is Boerboels are getting relinquished to the shelters, and the Jack Russells are moving into the complexes. Now, that is according to the complex rules. It's based on height reasoning behind it, nothing else. Now, you've got to take into account the genetic makeup of the dogs. For example, a Boerboel generally will just park off all day unless needed to guard something. That's his nature. He's not going to exert himself unless he needs to. Jack Russell, on the other hand, that little terrier wants to work. That farm-like little terrier was the best thing ever, ratting all day, having a lot of energy. That is a big dog in a small body. And generally, those dogs will actually struggle in a smaller place. If I would love to put a tracker on a bauble and a Jack Russell for the day in a farmland situation. And I can guarantee you the Jack Russell will have burnt 20,000 more calories than the bauble. And that's where we're saying, you know, it's not fair. I'm not saying all Jack Russells are going to be high energy dogs, because I don't believe anything is a blanket. All we're saying is, you know, look at the dog in front of you and accept that what you presume will be a nuisance of that dog is not necessarily the way it's going to turn out. Take into consideration the dog's personality as you do the people's personality. I've lived in apartments in New York for decades. You know, I also find that people who do live on smaller properties do then focus on getting the dogs out for exercise and doing stuff. They understand it's a smaller property and the dog needs to get some exercise. Whereas people with large pieces of land, those dogs don't often go on walks because they presume the whole land is enough enrichment for them. And we all know there's nothing better for a dog than going out and getting some pea meal along the way, finding out what the dogs are having in the neighborhood. So we just want to work with the complexes and the homeowners associations to just say there's got to be a fairer way, because at the moment the rules are just leading to many dogs entering shelters, and a lot of them are not getting out.
And it's also, there also seems a bit of a tendency of the owner of the pet doesn't know the rules or how the rules should be applied, and the body corporate or the HRA kind of just have this slapdash approach about sending you an email, your dog's been barking, it needs to be removed, or we're going to call the SPCA. I often hear that. My dog needs to be gone because they're going to call the SPCA. So there is a process that has to be followed. You can't, you know, they can't just tell you your dog has to be gone by tomorrow.
Yeah, they have to, it's the same with everything. They have to prove their case. You know, and there has to be an opportunity for them to put mitigation points in place. It can't be, you know, I personally don't hear dogs barking as much as I do hear children screaming, but it's because of my personality and my love. But, you know, there's lots of times where people might say that a dog has consistent barking. There's rules and times of judge whether that is a nuisance or not. A scary part of our survey is not only do a lot of families not understand the homeowner association and the corporate bodies rules, they also don't know the local bylaws. And the local bylaws also protect both the bodies and the public in those cases as well. And we need to kind of judge each case again on each of its merits. I know for our team at the moment is dealing with 2 cases where it's been unfair what's happened to them and against the CSS. So, you know, we are looking into them, and we do want to help families keep their pets and find ways of working together and building a better option. There's got to be a better way for us to be able to all work together. And, you know, more and more people only have pets as their companionship. Retirement villages are probably the most heartbreaking when, you know, the people are moving into these villages. Their families maybe visit them once a week. Their beloved Fluff is their best companion, has been for the past 5 years. And that dog's used to being with their elder person. They're not going to be up and active. They're used to just sitting around with their family. And taking away from somebody that's now having to make this huge life adjustment is just heartbreaking for the dog and the person.
I mean, me and you have talked about this in retirement homes before, and it, in my mind, I know it's a little bit of extra work for the complex, but you can immediately start looking at bringing in dog walkers and people like that. So where a person is not capable of walking the pet or taking the pet out, but they still have the companionship, And, you know,
Yeah.
if you have service providers in that complex, you generating employment. The individual, the older person gets their companionship and the friendship of the pet, and they're not alone, because we all know loneliness is probably one of the saddest things that you can go through. And, you know, for me, and we see it so often. We have two dogs that are being networked at the moment. They're 12 and 10 years old, and the couple are moving into an old age home, and the dogs must go. And you think at 10 and 12, they're only going to lie in the sunset anyway.
Exactly.
They're big breeds. So and one is a Ridgeback, one is a Viame. And the Ridgeback, I can tell you now, like you said with the Boerboel, he's not going to bother. You know, if it's not important, he's not going to bark. And that's also the thing with the little dogs and the big dogs. You know what you mentioned before. It's often the little ones that have the more piercing bark, where the big dog might give one great big woof and everyone just pays attention. So I think, and I agree with you, you know, the rules, yes, there has to be rules.
Yeah.
And it has to be applied fairly, what you mentioned before as well. We can't just because a dog is above your knee, now he doesn't have a right to an existence anymore, because that's basically what it comes down to. And that is also, I suppose, a lack of education, people's perspective. You know, the trustees who are on the body corporate that manage it, you know, do they know how to implement the rules? Do they know what the needs are of the dogs? And I think, I don't know, when you gather all this information from your survey, how will you use that information?
Once we have a little bit of data, because you can't discuss anything until you have some real data. So we're hoping to receive as many people taking part in the survey. The more people that take part in it, the bigger database we have, and the more information we can go forward to the people and the people that we need to engage with. I thought one of our biggest is we want to approach this also from a science point of view. We wanted to say the rules and regulations as they've been created now have no science base. There's no real reasoning behind it, and not a lot of thought has gone into the actual real makeup of dogs as individuals. And get a lot of queries from the survey. We do include all companion animals. I should have maybe had a project called Not Without My Pet, but because I deal it's mainly large breed dogs that seem to be our biggest issue of having to come into shelters. That's where it started. But our hope is to have these stats, let the people involved see what the true statistics are of a large example of the country from people and their pets, and also from the sheltering environment, and just try and come together and sit down around a table with real science and say, okay, these are more realistic. Even in our local bylaws, they have rules where small dogs or a large breed and a small breed. Even those we need to look at in some of the provinces and municipalities, because again, having 3 little dogs doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be less of a nuisance than somebody having 2 large breed dogs. No science behind it, and that's all we're saying. Let's be fair. Let's be realistic with what we're dealing with, and also understand these rules are actually taking animals' lives. These rules are going to rescues. Some of them don't ever get out. Some of them don't even get an opportunity to be adopted because the time frame and the cost of looking after them is just too much. So this whole thing is more than anything is to trying to save and improve lives of dogs, cats, and their humans.
Yeah, I was saying to someone yesterday, right now is not a good time to be a dog, especially a big dog.
No.
And
it's worldwide.
Yes,
it's
yes,
worldwide.
it is.
Just us I'm part of a few groups. I'm the South African ambassador to the Human Animal Support Services in America, and they have programs that are just large breed dog programs because they are getting the same problems. Some of their problems are because of the housing restrictions and breed specific legislation. Some of them are also realistically, you know, a boer bull eats a lot more food than a poodle does, and the cost of living is a huge factor. Yes. But again, maybe some way we can help families. Any dog being in a family and being loved and cared for is better than it being in a shelter.
Absolutely.
And it would cost shelters a lot less money to try and provide food for a family to keep a dog than it is for the dog to come to the shelter.
Yeah, no, 100%. Tracy, thank you for your time. I'm looking forward to having more of these chats because I do believe that as the stats become available and the dialogue starts, and this is not about bashing body corporates, this is about awareness and about creating a dialogue and about making sure that our pets are safe.
Exactly.
This is what this is all about. And we need to move forward with the time, like we move forward with the science-based training and things like that. Similarly, yeah, you know, we just have to move forward. So if people want to get involved, how do they get hold of you?
The best option where it has all our contacts and stuff is to go to the website, which is notwithoutmydog.co.za. Okay. The survey there, that is probably the best way people can help us at the moment, is by taking part in the survey so we can get these important stats. And also, if you are someone that does deal with rentals, please reach out to us. We have people daily contacting to ask for pet inclusive places. It's a huge need, and I think estate agents out there are missing a really good trick. There's a huge market space for this.
No, 100% agree. Tracy, thank you very much. Go enjoy the rest of your day. I know you've got a lot to do.
Thank you so much for giving us a voice on this important matter.
All righty. We talk soon. Thanks, Tracy.
Okay. Bye.